So now y'all come into my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome to Cooking Today. How is everybody today on a Wednesday? We have got a smoking hot skillet, don't we, already going? Because today we're making this delicious creamy Tuscan salmon. We've got skin-on salmon fillets in a really hot skillet. We're gonna get these nice and crispy, and then put this beautiful cream sauce all over this salmon that has sun-dried tomatoes and capers and garlic and spinach in it, some parm. It is a one-dish wonder. You're gonna love this. It is a really quick, easy meal as well. And so we're gonna get going. I'm really tickled for you to try this recipe. Easy, easy, easy. So let's talk about this. We have our skillet preheated. We have our cast iron skillet. I have a 12-inch cast iron skillet because we need quite a bit of surface area to cover our salmon, for our salmon to sit inside. And I have it preheated, which is super important for a good sear on any kind of fish or meat. So we've got that screaming hot, and then I have swirled the bottom of the pan with just a little bit of oil. And then I have four salmon fillets that I am just giving a little dusting of salt and pepper on the skin side, on the fleshy side, okay? And then we're gonna turn these over, and we're gonna go ahead and season the back side as well, the skin side. This is one of Grace Hannon's favorite meals. She has a real strong flavor profile. She loves anything that has spinach or sun-dried tomatoes, and she actually sent me this recipe. She had either seen it on Pinterest or on Instagram, I don't remember. And of course I made it because it is just really, really good, and I loved the simplicity of this dish. So we had it a couple of nights ago, and it was really, really good, and I thought y'all might really like this one, especially now that we are in, the fall and everything is super busy. These one skillet things with a whole bunch of pre-jarred little flavor add-ins makes this a great one for weeknights or busy weekends. Okie doke, so here's what we've got. We have our skillet swirled with oil, preheated over about medium-high heat or so, medium. Now, what we want to do is we want to lay our salmon down skin side down first, okay? And then the minute that we lay this salmon in there, skin side down, you want to put some pressure on your salmon for just a couple of minutes, maybe not even a minute, just so that we can get good contact of the skin with your pan. And it also helps keep your salmon from the skin from kind of seizing up and causing your salmon not to lay nice and flat. So we're giving that a little press down. It already smells good. Before we add the second salmon piece in. Does that make sense? We're gonna press each of them down. If I happen to have some pretty good sized pans in my kitchen, but if you don't have a pan that's big enough to put your salmon in, all of your pieces, then you may need to cook them in batches, and that's totally fine. I do that a lot, as a matter of fact. I think I may be just fine on this. Now, the goal, what we're gonna do here is, you know what, I'm just gonna do this guy. Woo! We're spitting like crazy, gang. Oh, and let me tell you this is important. My salmon was laid out on this sheet pan. And when I got my salmon out of the package, I actually laid this completely out on paper towels so that the salmon was very, very dry. Then I took this paper towel and patted them dry on the top as well, because we're trying to get the most water out of the salmon as we can before we sear it, because that is going to spit, first of all, the water in contact with the oil. Any of the moisture is going to spit on us. And it also prevents it from getting the good sear that we want if it's wet. And we don't want that. We want a good sear, so we get it as dry as possible before we put it into our pan. So we, wiped those off a little bit. Now, I'm gonna just wait on this guy because I don't think we're gonna have room. And so here's how you cook skin side down salmon, or skin side, skin on salmon. We're pressing each of them down for contact and sear and get that good crisp. We want them to cook on the skin side for about 4 minutes or so. Then all you have to do is turn these over and cook them for about 20 seconds on the other side, and that's it. That's all it's going to take to get the salmon cooked. Isn't that easy? That's why this is such a great weeknight meal, because it takes no time at all. Now here's another tip. If you get your tool underneath your salmon and your fillet doesn't loosen from the pan. Okay, here we've got one. If it doesn't loosen from the pan and you're struggling, leave it there. Let it cook for another 15 or 20 seconds, because when you've got your good sear, look, we're gonna flip this right now. When you have your good sear, oh yes, then that skin is gonna release from your pan with no trouble whatsoever, and then you're not gonna have to sit there and dig it out and mess up your beautiful fillets. I'm gonna go ahead and flip these. When we come back, we're gonna start on our sauce. This is cooking today. Hi, welcome back to Cooking Today. Our salmon is gorgeous. Look at that. Look at that color. Can you see that? Look at that beautiful color. Isn't that nice? Did you see how easy that is? Now, salmon is going to have a little bit of pinkish in the middle, and that's okay. It's going to continue to cook as you rest it there. But we did this. We cooked it on, we oiled our pan, salt and peppered both sides, even the skin side, and then we seared it skin side down in a hot skillet, pressing just the lightest so that our skin stays in contact with our pan, and you get that crispy, beautiful skin. Then piece of cake, it just releases right off of your pan, and then we just turn it over and cook the flesh side down for 15, 20, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. It kind of depends on how done you like your salmon. I probably let those go for 45 seconds or so on the reverse side. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that pretty? That color. And then look. Oh, that's so nice. Love it. So that's the meat. That's the protein in this dish. Isn't that super simple, y'all? Okay, I'm turning my heat down a little bit on my pan because, smoking. But I have a sheet of foil. We have our salmon, and I'm just loosely going to cover this and set it aside for a minute. We're going to add it back into the pan at the very end. Isn't that delish? And just, for that matter, oh my goodness, this pan, y'all. Whew. For that matter, this is a great way to just fix salmon. Salt and pepper both sides, olive oil, get a good sear, just like that. And then you can eat this right away on rice or pasta, or on a salad, or you can refrigerate it and flake it and eat it the next day. That's just the most simple way to cook salmon. Now, we need to get something else in this smoking pan. So what we're gonna start with is an onion, of course. It's all good things around here start with onions and garlic, don't they? They always have. So I just have one medium yellow onion that I am going to peel back my little layer here, and then chop this onion, and we're gonna give this a little saute. You know how we chop our onion? We take the skin back, we do some cuts, and then we just chop right through it, and look, it's already cut for us. Isn't that easy? We'll do it again on this end. This has been one of the tips that I've shared on here that I've heard the most people say, oh my goodness, that has changed everything for me. I generally tend to tear up. I think I've grown a little bit over the 2 years of doing this show, where I've been able to not cry when I cut an onion, because at the beginning, Andrew over here would have to cut them, and Timmy would get tickled at me because, I would get all weepy and stuff about onions. My own mother cannot cut a fresh onion to save her life. She always buys the frozen ones. Did you know they make frozen chopped onions at the grocery store? They do. And that's what I grew up on. was frozen chopped onions for this reason. Okay, we have our onions tear-free because we're, maturing. And what I need to grab is a little bit of butter. And I've got my skillet still going. I did turn the heat down a little bit because we had it real high for our salmon. And we don't want to fry our onions. We just want to give them a good little saute. Okay? So we're going to get that swirled around in our hot pan. Salted or unsalted, it doesn't matter on this one. Then we have our one medium yellow onion that's going in. And we're going to let these stir around for just a couple minutes until they start to get tender with a little bit of color. I mean, right there, onions and butter. It is the best. It is absolutely the best. And when we throw this garlic in a minute, I always say there should be a candle, like a holiday candle, like a Thanksgiving candle that smells like onions and butter and garlic. I would buy it and burn it, wouldn't you? No, let's not do that. Let's just cook it. Let's just all get in our kitchens and cook. I'd rather you do that than just burn a candle. I'd rather you make this recipe. Okay. So we're going to let those go for just a minute. Now, this is something you are not going to see on here very often. So I'm just going to tell you right away. I'm all about cooking with fresh everything if you can get your hands on it and if you've got the time. This particular recipe calls for 6 cloves of minced garlic. Who's got time for that? I don't. So this is one of the few times you're going to see me pop open one of the little jars of minced garlic from your grocery because it's a whole lot easier. And it's fall. And like I said, we're so busy and having to sit and peel and mint 6 cloves of garlic right now is just not my favorite way to spend some time on my busy nights. So we are going to saute this a little bit longer, stir in our garlic when we come back, and then we're going to keep going. We've got capers and sun-dried tomatoes. And y'all, this recipe is going to wrap up in no time. So come back. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome back to Cooking Today. We're making creamy Tuscan salmon, a recipe that my daughter sent to me that she thought looked delicious online, and we've been making it. It is so good. Now, one of the shortcuts that I'm making, we've already crisped our salmon, seared it, and it's kind of hanging out, waiting to be put back into the pan, is we sauteed our onions, but here's my little shortcut. Instead of cooking or chopping and mincing 6 cloves of garlic, which is an awful lot of time, I am struggling with that jar. I'm not even going to put the lid on that. My plastic's in the way. Goodness. So instead of mincing 6 cloves of garlic, I just went ahead and bought the minced garlic from the grocery store because why not? It's perfectly fine in this dish. And I did a couple of teaspoons, tablespoons. I like this extra garlicky. If you do not want this extra garlicky, then you can lighten up a little bit. You can also add it in a little bit later at the end of the dish if you want to. You just want to give it a little bit of time to cook. But I just kind of went for it. I did several teaspoons, tablespoons of it. Okay, you only saute garlic until it really becomes fragrant because it'll burn real quick on you, and you'll have 5 million tiny little burnt bites in your sauce, and we don't want that. Then I am just taking the littlest bit of a really dry white wine. This is a Pinot Grigio to put in the bottom of my pan, and you'll see it starts to sizzle. And it deglazes your pan, and it pulls all that good seasoning from our fish when we cooked our salmon. It deglazes our pan, and it starts to bubble, and it's kind of cooking off and releasing some of the good stuff that is stuck in the bottom of our pan. We want that. We want that good stuff, flavors and crumbles and bits, to be part of our sauce. So we don't want it to hang out there. We want it to loosen. Now, another quick thing about this recipe is sun-dried tomatoes. This is an 8-ounce jar I think I'm just gonna go for it. I think the recipe says to do 5 ounces, but this is one of my favorite tangy bites in this thing, so I'm gonna go ahead and just cut them all up. I have primarily drained most of the liquid. You know, they're real oily. I've drained most of the liquid off of them. There's gonna be a little bit, but we don't have to worry about that. It'll just flavor our sauce. I got the sun-dried tomatoes that were already chopped into strips. And for, you know, just the sake of getting them into bites, I'm just going over these real quick, like a rough chop. And that's it. We don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And now, we're going to put these in here as well. This is simple. Look at this, 1 pot. Don't you love 1 pot? I love 1 pot. Love it, love it. Okay. Now we're gonna let those cook for just a minute. So all we're doing on this dish, we are adding a little flavor, sauteing it for a minute. Adding another little level of flavor, sauteing it for another minute. Adding another layer of flavor, sauteing it for a minute. That's all there is to this. We're just dumping things. Isn't that great? So we have our onions, our garlic, our sun-dried tomatoes that we've chopped. Now, I'm gonna put in some capers. Again, I have drained the liquid off of these. Y'all, what is it with the lids today? Holy smokes. I'm not even gonna measure. I've drained the liquid off. I'm probably doing a couple of tablespoons of those. I'm not even gonna try to put the lid on that. We're just gonna set it away. Cook and stir, cook and stir. Capers are real briny, super salty. You're gonna love the bite that goes in there. When you taste that caper, it is awesome. It's so olivey. You know, if you like olives, it kind of reminds me of like an olive. It's actually a little berry, but it's just really good. It's real super, super, super salty, and I love that because we've got this tart and the tang from those tomatoes, and then that good kind of buttery, oniony flavor in there with the garlic. Lots of good bites here. Finally, y'all, isn't this easy? Oh, I think y'all are gonna make this one. I hope that if you make this, that you'll message me on Facebook and tell me, because I really love to hear when y'all are cooking these things. Okay, ready? I am turning my heat down because when we're about to add cream to our pan, we don't want it to be super duper hot. So I have a 2-cup measuring cup, and I've poured in 1 cup of cream, and then I'm gonna add to it 3/4 of a cup of whole milk. So we're kind of making our own half and half. You can also just buy half and half and do 1 3/4 a cup if you would rather. It doesn't really matter. It's all about the same. Okay, ready? Oh my goodness, look at this. Just, that is the prettiest color. So all we're gonna do, you ready for this? We've lowered our heat. We're pouring in our cream and our milk. It smells unbelievably delicious in here. I'm gonna hit this with some salt and some pepper. And we're going to bring this up just a little bit for a simmer. And we're gonna let that thicken. It's gonna thicken just the littlest bit. When we come back, we're gonna finish it up. That's all there is to this. 1, 2, 3, and we're done. 1 pot dinner, creamy Tuscan salmon. This is cooking today. Hi, welcome back to Cooking Today. We are just finishing up creamy Tuscan salmon. It is so simple. We have cooked this straight through. Like, we haven't done any like editing or magic or anything. Like, it has taken about 20 minutes to make. You need to add this to your weeknight arsenal. We have our cream sauce that has sun-dried tomatoes and capers and onions and garlic and cream. And then we've seasoned it with some salt and pepper. Be sure to taste as you go. And then we've let that just cook, 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 and saute down and this little simmer. And then all I did was add 3 handfuls. You can say cups, I say handfuls, whatever you like. And I have just set that salmon right on top of my simmered liquid because this little sauce is warm, and this spinach will wilt in no time. And so I don't have to do a lot to it. I'm just barely pressing it into my cream sauce. I don't want it to just wilt into nothing. I want it to have a little color. a little of its, you know, a little bit firm but soft at the same time. Just get nice and tender. Look at that. Oh, before I put my my spinach in, we shook in a little bit of parm, just grated fresh parm to make that sauce just extra, extra good. And then y'all, here's our salmon that we cooked earlier. Our spinach is wilted and beautiful. We're gonna nestle our salmon skin side down right back into our beautiful pan. Spoon the littlest bit of sauce right up and over each filet, and then garnish with a little parsley, just for pretty, just extra fun. Makes a weeknight dinner extra beautiful. Beautiful fish, fabulous creamy garlic Tuscan sauce, and a quick weeknight meal. Y'all are gonna love this one. I hope you'll try it at home. Love every bite. This is Cooking Today.